Welcome to Ohioans Against Extremism podcast.
Oh my god, that was beautiful.
I've been training for that my whole life.
I'm Maria Bruno, and this is season 2 of the Ohioans Against Extremism podcast. Before we dive into the newest episode, I wanted to make a quick note that since we have filmed this episode, the Ohio Redistricting Commission has passed new congressional maps. We'll link more information to some articles that talk about it in the chat, but we just wanted to note that they are further along in the process than they were at the time of this filming. So listen to the rest of the update, and thanks for supporting us. I'm Maria Bruno.
I'm Ainsley Johnson-Brown.
And this is the Ohioans Against Extremism podcast.
Welcome. We've missed you.
Welcome. We're back for season 2. We're officially in season 2.
That's crazy.
I know. Yeah, that's a weird thing.
How'd we get
We're in year 2. I know. That's wild.
We're still fighting extremism.
Yeah, not slowing down. That's for sure. So we wanted to just provide a little bit of an update on what the heck is going on, because I feel like it's now coming at us at like a hurricane pace.
Yeah.
And everyone's just trying to figure out what they can be doing in Ohio to actually move the needle. So I think that some of the bigger things that are on our mind are, one, the redistricting fight, right? So redistricting is back in the news, everybody.
But you know what we haven't seen?
What?
Maps.
We have not seen maps.
We have not seen maps.
That's right. We have not. And so just a little bit of context before we talk about all the reasons that they are failing at their job. We are talking about maps again because Ohio was obligated based on a Ohio Supreme Court decision to redraw our maps this year. So you're hearing a lot about other states like deciding to redistrict out of nowhere. That is not the circumstance we find ourselves in.
No, we have to.
We have to do it.
Unconstitutional.
Because the current maps are unconstitutional, which is wild because the new maps are likely going to be even more unconstitutional.
But that's what they did last time, isn't it?
Yes. The difference is that now we don't have the Ohio Supreme Court.
Oh.
So,
well, we have they exist.
They exist. But if you're talking about the importance of guardrails and also talking about the importance of electoral results,
yeah.
Ohio's Supreme Court is now a supermajority Republican, and at least 3 of them we know are not going to be favorable to anti-gerrymandering type decisions, but we can just expect that they're not really a guardrail anymore. That if someone were to sue in Ohio's courts, that it's
just a green light.
It's just a green light.
Yeah, it's a formality.
Yeah, it's a formality. So, technically they have multiple rounds of deadlines, right? They have this really fancy, complicated formula for redistricting. And frankly, it was designed to be like corruption proof. I would say it failed on that front.
Well, we don't know because we haven't seen the maps.
But I think, isn't that itself the failure?
Yeah, well, there was a design flaw in that.
Well, because it presumed that there would be relatively reasonably good faith actors involved in the process. And what we realized is that was cute and also not realistic, because what we actually have is a bunch of people who just want to game the system.
Yeah, we thought that the people that signed up to draw the maps were going to do that.
Silly us, we thought shame still existed. That's on us. But so the way that this process works is it's kind of an escalation, right? It tries to encourage, a bipartisan process. So round 1 was actually at the legislature. We were in the state house. They had a committee for the redistricting process, a committee made up of state legislative members. Republicans didn't introduce a map. Democrats did. Democrats' map doesn't have a shot in hell of actually becoming the map. That did not stop the Republicans from focusing on the Democrat map entirely so that they didn't have to produce a map themselves.
It's interesting because this is the same group that when the Ohio Citizens said, hey, maybe we can draw the maps.
No.
They said, no, we've got it.
We got it.
We're the experts. We've got you covered. And I don't feel covered.
There's just so much playing in our face when it comes down to this. Especially around now, we hear the members saying oh, well, we're just waiting for Ohioans' input. We just want Ohioans' input, which is just the biggest load of shit ever.
well, we wanted to give input, and they said,
Wouldn't it be nice?
they're not elected.
It's hard to give input on maps that don't yet exist.
It's hard not to give up.
It is.
We're not,
We're not.
but it's hard.
It is. And I think, and so just to, get everyone to our present day situation. So they had that committee. They didn't pass a map. Republicans didn't even introduce a map. That deadline to pass a map from that committee was the last day of last month. Now we are in October, which means we are now in an entirely different legislative body. We are now working with the Ohio Redistricting Commission. So since the legislature failed to pass a map, now the Ohio Redistricting Commission is together. Now that, for folks who don't remember, is the House majority and minority leader, one person from each camp, and then the Senate majority, minority, one person from each camp. So a Democrat and Republican, Democrat, Republican. And then the 3 statewide offices of auditor, secretary of state, and governor, which are all Republicans. So
Well, we know how much our Secretary of State values our access to voting,
don't we?
So
that makes for a 5-2 split, and we still only have the map that represents the 2. And their deadline is the last day of this month.
It's actually, it's very difficult, and I think maybe this is part of a sinister part of the plan, to keep encouraging Ohioans to vote with the basis for how those votes are bundled and counted, just not even up in flux. It just doesn't exist right now.
And the people that try to speak up are just they laugh in their faces.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally are so dismissive of Ohioans caring. So it's really frustrating. So we know people are frustrated. We're frustrated. Yeah. I think my biggest maybe point about that, though, is that when we don't speak up, they take our silence as acquiescence and say, well, obviously Ohioans don't care that much, because if they did, they'd be knocking down our front door. So then we knock down the front door and they say, wow, this woke mob.
No, my favorite was when there wasn't any community engagement, and the response from some of the Republicans, or that the people that felt strongly did not feel safe expressing their views in public. So there was this underlying this underlying sentiment of secret Ohioans having secret meetings that luckily, in this narrative, these politicians are willing to stand up and fight for.
These mystery
meanwhile,
people that happen to agree with their personal politics.
Right, so meanwhile, we have how many thousands of people were at No Kings? Trying to participate in a process.
Right.
You went.
I did go. I'll be honest, I'm not a big protest person. I don't like crowds or loud noises. So protests in many ways are my nightmare.
Understood.
But I do it, and I understand it's important. And this one felt important, and I wanted to make sure I was there. But, so I went to the one in Columbus at the State House. It was huge. It was by far the most people that I had seen at a single demonstration in Columbus.
Peaceful, rowdy?
Completely peaceful, silly even.
Love a silly protest.
Love a little silly protest. Very little police presence, which is illustrative of it's very possible to have a protest that is large and peaceful and that the cops don't ruin. So it was exciting to have that experience Saturday. I wish a lot of people could have experienced a little bit of that a few years ago, when that grace was certainly not extended to the protesters. But for the sake of, I guess, acknowledging the present day victory, it was peaceful. The police didn't ruin it.
Well, I've heard lore of the idea that this was possible, right? And so had it not been for the footage and people like Maria's firsthand account, I don't know that I would have a true appreciation for exactly what you just described. I myself stayed home. I just did not feel comfortable putting myself in this body in a situation that would be subjected to military equipment and, no due process and all the things that we have seen, or we have seen in the past in some of these demonstrations. It just wasn't worth the risk for me. Now, I also very anti-King, but you know, I'll speak for myself, but I also know, you know, a good number of people that, you know, fall into the same bucket of being totally supportive of a cause, but when it comes to public demonstrations and the police force's history in turning those into not so silly protests, I stayed home.
Yeah.
I stayed home and I read a book. Not the whole book.
I think that's really understandable. And I think it's important that people like me that are more in a position of privilege both recognize that it's just not the same thing. You know, your risk level when you enter that same event as mine is higher.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we are at the exact same event standing next to each other, your risk of being subjected to police brutality is higher than mine.
It is.
Which makes it a different calculus altogether.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, hey, fellow white people, just keep that in mind as we are going along. I think it's really great that we're all getting together. I know that there was a lot of value in sharing space. I think, you know, authoritarians really thrive on the idea that people feel alone and they feel outnumbered and they feel powerless. And I will say, you know, for better or worse, I think Saturday was a really good illustration of just how many people are feeling the discontent and are willing to still stand up and say something about it.
There was even I think it was like Bellefontaine or some very small community that had over 300 people show up. And like that, to me, speaks volumes. We talk about the differences between, you know, urban, suburban, rural, and Ohio, but literally every type of Ohioan went outside in some sort of way to show support for the No Kings protest. So, I mean, that kind of made me proud.
I think that's great. It's really fun. My hometown, Medina, had like thousands of people, which is like
Medina has thousands of people.
I know. A quarter of our population showed up.
I love Medina. Great town square.
It's very cute. If you're into Christmas season, we're a great Christmas season
yes,
shopping spot. We've got
listen.
a Christmas museum and a candle factory and an ice festival. Thank you. That's my Medina, Ohio Christmas pitch.
I'm a big fan of the Candied Apple store. We're getting way off topic.
But
if you happen to roll through Medina, don't let my little quip deter you from stopping through the town square and getting a treat or two.
It's cute. But, you know, that was cool to see. I do want to point out, though, that there was a spot in Ohio, and the name of the city is escaping me, so I'm not going to guess, but there was a protester that was hit by a car because a car swerved directly into the crowd to intentionally strike the crowd. And that was in a real red part of the state. Yeah. So I think we talk a lot about the risks when we're talking about these big urban protests, and obviously that's really important. I also think we maybe less frequently acknowledge the risk that people are taking when they are in these more deeply isolated, conservative places that are not that populated, putting themselves on the limb. Sometimes they're putting themselves on a limb with 4 other people, and you know, and so I know that can feel lonely, but you know, I just want to appreciate people's...
For sure. It takes
courage.
guts.
It takes guts. Absolutely.
One thing Ohioans have, it's guts.
Yeah. That's right.
We're still working on the glory.
We're still working on the glory.
But we've got guts.
The other thing that I think is important to talk about related to the No Kings protest, and then we'll get off it, but it was an interesting timed social experiment. So as a group that works a lot on community safety, before a big event like that, we are thinking a lot about the organizers, the attendees, the police that might come to that, and we're thinking about how they might engage with each other in positive ways or negative ways, trying to prepare to make sure that everyone has a positive experience. Which meant that early last week, when we had members of our state government, but also members of our federal government, claiming that anyone protesting was Hamas, a terrorist, you know, and they threw around the word extremist. And, you know, I had said on Saturday, I think had they said that on Friday, it would have been a lot harder on Saturday. But because they said it really early in the week, everyone had time to kind of digest what they had said. And they're like, wait, are you saying the guy in the frog costume is the terrorist? And, like, we had all, like, as a society, had time to, like, process it.
Yeah. I mean... Not to toot our horns, and being a centralizing mechanism for, again, people that want the fringe to exit the conversation. It's starting to give, I know you are, but what am I?
It really is. I'm rubber, you're glue.
Right. Which is, it's like, no, but you're extreme. And I'm like, I get that you don't like what I said, but it's not inciting violence, and it is not, marginalizing people or giving more power to the powerful, or any of the four ways that we distinctly define extremism. And so I think that even just from our standpoints to, as a response to that messaging, probably need to get a little bit more stern about defining more broadly, but defining for other people or with other people what extremism actually is. I get that you may extremely dislike the opinion of another person. That, however, does not count as political extremism. And
as we define it.
As we define it.
And it's an important thing to define, like you said. One of the things when we started the organization, we wrote out a list of our sort of guiding principles, one of which was we define extremism before extremism defines us.
Because we knew they were going to try it.
Because we knew they were going to do exactly what they're doing right now. And the reason we knew that they were going to do it is because they started doing it to other marginalized populations. Yeah. They did it to Haitians. They did it to trans people. They have done this to marginalized populations, and we knew it was just a matter of time before that strategy kept going. And I think there is a real temptation to, especially for kind of these power-hungry people that are already in positions of power, to define dissent as inherently extreme. And I think as a state that is represented by a bright red government but has a populace that's pretty purple, essentially what they're doing is painting half of our state as extremists.
Well, that by definition don't get me started.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
So when we were thinking about our definition of extremism, it was one of the first things we did, and we focused a lot on kind of the impact versus the ideology. So I think a lot of people are tempted to define it based on the ideology, what position you hold on any given policy. We're kind of the mindset of we don't really care what you as a human being hold in your brain. What we care about is, are you harming someone else with what you are doing or saying or the policy that you are pushing? Or are you setting ourselves up to have the powerful become more powerful and the less powerful become less powerful? That presidential memorandum that defines extremism as things like anti-capitalism.
Can we just, for a moment, I know that this is serious and I want you to hold all of your thoughts, but the tendency for this administration to redefine or rename or relabel or recast too many things for the sake of convenience is wild. And I know, I want, to have the conversation about the executive order on extremism, but I can't help but, kind of morbidly chuckle and think back to the Gulf of Mexico and that rebranding.
Right.
And it's wild. But this is, we're starting to get into the weeds of what is turning into a dangerous landscape. And so
they're setting up the conditions for a witch hunt, essentially, and they've always kind of done that, but they're trying to create this legal framework by which they can succeed in doing that.
In the interest of national security.
We
know all the rules go out.
Well, and the thing is I think that is actually, when we define things so broadly and to mean things I don't like, the actual threats get minimized.
Yeah.
We can't fight terrorism if every time someone says something you disagree with is labeled terrorism.
Yeah.
It's the same way that when you were labeling queer people as pedophiles, it's I would like to catch pedophiles. And the fact that you're just willy-nilly throwing this word at people makes it harder for us to figure out who's a pedophile.
Actually a threat to children.
Right. Yeah. And so I think the terrorism is the same thing. It's when we call all of everyone that, we actually lose our ability to, actually pursue real terrorists who are threatening our national security. So, I mean, the No King's Press was important. I mean, it triggered Trump enough to put out a meme that involved him pooping on most of America, so that was fun. And by the way, that also led to Ohio politicians. DJ Swearingen is the one that's coming to mind, but others I'm sure have said similar, is they're like, the takeaway is Jesus is king and Donald Trump is a great president. And I said, what about several million people protesting against someone and then him responding with poop memes against them? Says, wow.
Well,
you know what? He's crushing it.
Well, when his press secretary's response is, your mom.
Oh my God. Multiple times.
In text.
It really...
orally. Like, it is... I don't have a word for what is happening right now.
The internet has a theory, and the theory is that everyone is 12. They said...
Well, between the poop and the your moms.
No, literally. They're like, oh, well, all of your ideas sound really good if you're 12.
And the nicknames.
It's solid.
I'm on
Once
it.
you apply
I'm there.
it really does fit a whole lot of situations.
I agree with the internet.
100%. All the time.
No.
Not.
Just here, though.
Yeah. So other than that, we have a very busy State House agenda. We're not going to dive into bills today. In November, we will have a briefing where we'll go over some of the bills that are taking up our current attention.
Well, one of the things that we do for those that are on our mailing list already know, but on Mondays, we send out an email of bills that are on our watch list for one reason or another that have been given slots in the committee agendas. So if you are really interested in the week-to-week movements of these bills, please sign up for our Substack, and it'll be delivered to your inbox hot and fresh on Monday mornings.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Oh. Well.
And I just want to mention about that is that we don't paywall. We made a conscious choice not to paywall. We think it's really important that this information be available to everyone, not just people who can afford to pay. But because of that, if you want to throw us a few dollars so we can keep not paywalling our stuff, we'd really appreciate it.
Just a couple.
Just a couple. $1 or $2, please.
Repeatedly,
over and over. So that's all we got today. Anything that I missed?
I don't think so.
We continue to be open to food sponsorships. If anyone would like us to eat their food on camera, we would be thrilled to.
Including the snack shop in Medina Town Square, because it's delicious. That one's for free.
Oh, that one we might just do.
Oh, they're just free anyway. You should try it.
It's a terrible business plan to say, you know what, we're just going to do it for free.
I'm probably going to go up there sometime this weekend.
Perfect. Great. And things are off to a swimming start in season 2 of the Ohioans Against Extremism podcast.
Oh, hold on. It only gets better from here.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to Ohioans Against Extremism podcast. If you want more, you can check us out at ohagainstextremism.org. Follow us on Twitter, No Extremism Ohio. And stay tuned, subscribe, and feel free to donate if your pockets allow it.